Week 4, almost in the books. I apologize for the late podcast. I promise I'll be better next time. But you'll get all my takes from all the games over the course of this weekend. And on top of that, my take for the Derrick Rose retirement and the take for the Minnesota Timberwolves trade, which involved Karl Anthony Towns going to the New York Knicks. And last but not least, my reactions on the Kansas City Chiefs losing Rashee Rice for potentially the rest of the year due to a feared torn ACL, and what this means for those Chiefs wide receiving room and their offensive attack. Coming up right after this. Welcome back to this Final Seconds podcast, the number one podcast that gives you all your sports news, sports takes on anything related with sports, from controversies to retirements, you name it. Welcome to the podcast. So first things first, week 4 is almost in the books, man. There was some big games over this weekend, and again, I apologize for the late upload. I promise I'll be way better next time, because I just got really busy and stuff like that, but yeah, I'll be better with that next time. And we got a new mic. Shout out to my coworker Henry for hooking us up with that. Very helpful. Hopefully it should help sound quality, stuff like that, and just make the listening experience better, you know what I mean? But first, let's talk about the Bears and the Rams game. I mean, so I kind of saw this coming. You can call me a bandwagon, whatever you want, for making the prediction right now rather than anything. But I already knew the Bears were gonna win. I already knew they were gonna bounce back. Because to be honest with you, 2 straight losses, especially with this team, is just not gonna sit right. And I feel like they're too good of a team to just not bounce back from that, especially against a Rams team that's kind of short-staffed right now because of the fact of the Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, they're both out right now, and they don't really have anybody at wide receiver. But Bears end up pulling it out, 24-18, DeAndre Swift leading the charge. 16 attempts, 93 yards, 1 touchdown, and then 7 receptions for 72 yards. So he was a little everywhere today. He was most definitely everywhere. I mean, he was playing really well, too. It's like the first game you've really seen him play pretty well for the Bears. And I think the Bears really needed that. So, good for them, getting the win, tying their, record to 2-2 now, rather than going down 1-3. Next one. Looks like, let's go. Bills, Ravens. That was a big game. Ravens come out on top, 35-10, and Derrick Henry, man, just an absolute beast. I mean, the dude just came up, straight up, just first play of the game, a rush for 87 yards and a touchdown right there. I mean, absolutely insane. I saw that play, and it was a crazy play, to be 100% honest with you. That was crazy. And the big dude, he looks like he's in his prime again, man. He finally looks like he's somewhere that, he likes being there. He can thrive being there with Lamar, stuff like that. I mean, it's amazing. And I have nothing but gratitude for him, to say about him, because he's just thriving, man. I mean, he's doing really good. Derrick Henry finished for 24 attempts, 199 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, he just could not be stopped. That Bills defense just couldn't stop that dude. King Henry just kicked up the Jets, and he was like, let's go. Lamar Jackson didn't really have much, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not too bad. I know some fantasy owners might not be liking that, but kind of is what it is, right? Justice Hill having 6 receptions, 78 yards. None of the wide receivers looked like they had any grabs. Nelson Aguilar did for the 2 receptions, 10 touchdowns, or not 10 touchdowns, oh my god, 10 yards, and Zay Flowers had 1 reception for 10 yards. So he didn't really, fantasy owners are probably kind of mad about that. I kind of would be too, to be 100% honest with you. But yeah, I mean, he's thriving. Derrick Henry, X factor for that game. What a game for the Ravens to come out on top, to bounce back after they've kind of started a little rocky this season. So yeah, next one, dude, Raiders and Browns. I mean, this isn't really much of a big game, but I put it on the list for things to talk about because this was the toilet bowl. I mean, both teams played like absolute dog crap. It was terrible. I mean, it's 20-16. I saw Deshaun Watson getting a little pissed off out on that field. A couple big drops from Amari Cooper. But Deshaun Watson just sucks. To be honest with you, like, he shouldn't be getting mad. That dude just sucks. He's not the quarterback, and plus he's on the Browns. That's where quarterbacks essentially go to die, but that dude just doesn't have it in him anymore. To be 100% honest with you, like, it's bad. I'm guessing once Nick Chubb comes back, they're just going to run the ball, because I really don't think they want the ball in Deshaun Watson's hands anymore once Nick Chubb comes back. It's... I don't think anybody wants... I don't think anybody wants that, like, at all. Jerry Jeudy having 6 receptions, 72 yards. Amari Cooper having 4 receptions for 35 yards. So, they didn't have the best games, but the Raiders didn't have the best game either. Gardner Minshew throwing 130 yards, taking 2 sacks. Jacoby Myers being the best wide receiver for receiving that game, for the Raiders at least. 5 receptions, 49 yards. I mean, the Raiders are just mediocre, man. Like, I mean, I'm surprised they still won without having Adams or Max Crosby playing, so props to them, but, I mean, it's not really much of a flex beating the Cleveland Browns. You know what I mean? Next one. 49ers Patriots. We all knew who was going to win that. Commanders Cardinals. That was one big game. Purely because of the fact that, like, everybody thought that, in my opinion, I had the Cardinals winning that one, and I think a lot of people did. But Washington just went out there and just brought them to Pound Town, dude. Like, it was Jaden Daniels having 233 yards, 1 touchdown and a pick. He's a rookie QB. That's going to happen. Little mistakes like this are going to happen. But Brian Robinson having 21 yards for 21 attempts for 101 yards and a touchdown. And then Terry McLaurin tearing it up. Scary Terry, 7 receptions, 52 yards and a touchdown. I would highly recommend grabbing Terry McLaurin from your waiver wires or trading for him or something, because I know for a fact that dude is going to be a stud. Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin are having that connection now, and fantasy owners are going to appreciate that a lot. I know I picked him up from a trade in my fantasy league, and it's just like the dude has been tearing it up. He had 17 points in my league, probably 15 or 14 in yours, because our settings are just a little bit more different. But other than that, man, that team just looks so freaking good, dude. That team just looks amazing right now. And the Commanders are actually looking exciting for once. So, props to them. 42-14. Kyler Murray had a terrible game. 142 yards, a touchdown. James Conner rushing for 104 yards and a touchdown. So, the Cardinals really didn't have the best game overall. I know Marvin Harrison Jr. had 5 receptions, 45 yards, a touchdown. Michael Wilson, 3 receptions, 38 yards, no touchdown. So it's just, it was a bad game overall for the team. You know what I mean? The Cardinals will bounce back. I really expected them to come out and, just be winning a lot more because of the fact that, like, it's the Cardinals. I mean, they've been showing out the last few weeks, and it's like, you would think that they would, crush the Commanders, but not this week. But I think Arizona will most definitely, no doubt in my mind, they'll definitely bounce back. Next big game, Vikings and Packers. 31-29, Vikings come out on top, improving to 4-0 on the season. Sam Darnold, man, he's that guy right now. He had 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's gonna happen. I mean, he's been a backup QB his entire career. I expect that from a guy like him. But he's playing great. I mean, MVP level stuff right now. Aaron Jones, 93 yards, no touchdowns. Jefferson having 6 receptions, 85 yards and a touchdown. I know that they were up 28-0 going into the second half, and then the Packers just completely stopped them, allowing them to only 3 points in the second half, which is crazy. And they scored 22 in the second half, so they almost came back and won. But Jordan Love didn't really have the best game either. 389, 4 touchdowns. Yeah, it's 4 touchdowns, but 3 picks. He could have had a way better game, and they could have definitely came back and beat them if it wasn't for the self-inflicted wounds that Jordan Love ended up introducing because of his interceptions, stuff like that. But also, Packers are a good team. I definitely think they'll bounce back also. Next one, Broncos-Jets. Okay. So Broncos-Jets, man, 10-9. Broncos win that, and Bo Nix only throws for 60 yards and a touchdown. Cortland Sutton having 3 receptions, 60 yards. Oh my god. I can't believe that. I can't believe that at all. I mean, 60 yards and you win, but then again, the Jets played like crap too. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he played okay, 225, no touchdowns, but he took 5 sacks yesterday. And on top of that, it's just, overall, the team just did not thrive. Breece Hall, I saw 4 yards over 10 attempts. That's the worst he's ever had. Fantasy owners, I know you guys are probably angry. Do not sleep on him. It was one bad game. I really think that he'll have a better game next week. Other than that, Garrett Wilson looks incredibly bipolar. I'd keep an eye on him when it comes to stardom sit-ems. Garrett Wilson, I really don't think is going to be as good of a wide receiver as I actually thought, because you would think he'd be way better with Aaron Rodgers now at QB, but it doesn't really. I mean, he'll have a good year, but I really don't think he'll be a good fantasy wide receiver. So I keep an eye on him, fantasy owners. Colts, Steelers is the next one, with the Colts pulling it out by 3 points. I saw Michael Pittman get me 19. And that was, I'm pretty sure, after Joe Flacco came in. And Anthony Richardson ended up leaving the game for an injury. So, Michael Pittman had 6 receptions, 113 yards. He had a great game, but I think Joe Flacco is just a great QB. I mean, he's awesome. I mean, he won a Super Bowl. He's been used to, like, not the best offensive lines his entire career. But this guy is thriving. He can make quick reads. He doesn't try too much like AR does. And AR is a great raw athlete. He's got so much raw athleticism. He's got so much talent. But I really do not think he's the answer for this Colts team. And Joe Flacco's looking good as of like now. So to be honest with you, I would personally start Joe Flacco. Excuse me, if I was the Colts, because they just overall have been just a good team when Joe Flacco plays. And I think last year, it kind of, proved that kind of thing. Jonathan Taylor, 21 attempts, 88 yards, 1 touchdown. And Joe Flacco having 168 yards, 2 touchdowns. With Justin Fields having a monster game, his streak officially comes to an end now. But 312 yards, 1 touchdown. And then he had 10 attempts, like 10 rushes for 55 yards, 2 touchdowns. So the dude is playing great. And if I was the Steelers, I would not start Russell Wilson, because Justin Fields has been amazing ever since he joined the Steelers. And I don't think there's a reason for people to fix something that's not broken. And he's playing great. I mean, if they keep developing him the way he's developing currently, I genuinely think that they found themselves a franchise QB. Because that dude is just a dog. I mean, right now. I mean, the Bears kind of held him back because just the whole play calling and the whole, just the way that offense ran really didn't fit him, nor did the offensive line. Pittsburgh has a great offensive line. I mean, they're doing pretty good. Even though Fields did take 4 sacks, he still had a pretty great game. So I would not sleep on Justin Fields, like, at all. George Pickens, 7 receptions, 113 yards, no touchdown. But he still, I'm pretty sure, had some pretty good points for fantasy owners. So, yeah, I mean, people with Justin Fields, man, keep an eye on him. He's a great backup QB. Next one, something I didn't even see coming, Saints and Falcons. I really did not see Falcons winning that game. I thought it was going to be the Saints all the way. Derrick Carr, 239 yards, 1 interception. Didn't have a touchdown throw, unfortunately. And then Alvin Kamara rushing for 19 yards, 19 attempts for 77 yards and a touchdown. And Alvin Kamara also had 7 receptions for 42 yards. I mean, fantasy owners, man, like, dual threat running backs are the way to go, especially in PPR. McCaffrey, A-Chain, and Kamara. Those guys are the way to go. Swift, too, if he actually learns how to run the ball, or actually ends up thriving running the ball with that Bears crappy offensive line. That's the way to go, because you'll get extra receiving points from your wide receivers, and you'll get more receiving points from your running backs, and that is ultimately what's going to give you an X factor over all of your opponents. I kind of wish I drafted more receiving backs, which is why I just recently traded for Breece Hall, because he's a good receiving back also. And then Eagles-Bucks, man. Eagles-Bucks, that's, I think everybody saw that coming. I had the Bucks winning because I did not think the Eagles were going to win. The Jalen Hurts era is over. Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, was never a good QB. And you might be saying, oh, the stats, the 2 years ago, he was this, he was that, he was an MVP contender. Yes, he was. Why he was an MVP contender? It was because he was put around a good system. As soon as he had A.J. Brown come in and he was put around a good system, he broke out. And it was because of that. So, in my opinion, until he actually does something with a team that isn't systematic, that has a good system around him, I'm not going to believe it. And he's already shown, he's got Brown, even though he's been out, but he's got the players, he's got the line, and he just doesn't have it in him. And I've also noticed that his speed has also deteriorated. He's not as fast as he used to be, I've noticed. And they have all the pieces. They got Saquon, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, a good line, and then a decent defense that will help them win them games. So you would think he could thrive on a team like that, but he's not. And that, I think when push comes to shove, Jalen Hurts is not the answer for the Philadelphia Eagles, nor do I think he's ever going to win a Super Bowl underneath that team. Baker Mayfield, though, on the other hand, is looking like a freaking top-tier quarterback right now. 347 yards, 2 touchdowns, with Mike Evans having 8 receptions, 94 yards and a tutty, and Chris Godwin having 6 receptions and 69 yards. That team is thriving, man. I mean, the Bucks are playing amazing since Tom Brady, and Baker finally came out of the rough patch when it came to going across teams, and I think he's found himself a team now for the rest of his career. Do I think he'll lead them to a Super Bowl? No. I don't think he's the type of QB that would lead a team to a Super Bowl. I think he'll be a Kirk Cousins type QB for the rest of his career. But I mean, he's good. He's put in a nice environment, good O-line, good wide receivers, and then two good running backs. It really can't get better than that. I mean, it can, but no team's gonna have Saquon and McCaffrey and Tyreek and Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase on one team. So, I mean, to be realistic, it's pretty good. And then Cowboys Giants. One thing holding this Cowboys team back from being great is Mike McCarthy. I've emphasized this forever. Mike McCarthy is not that answer there. He did this with Green Bay. Green Bay, you had top 3 seeds for 3 or 4 years straight and still lost and didn't make anything past the divisional or the conference championship. So I think, when it comes to this game, they won 20-15 against the Giants. They should be destroying them, though. The Giants are not a team that you should be beating by 5 points. You should be beating them by at least 14 to 17 points. And considering how explosive the offense was last season, I don't see what's going on with this team that's made them take a push back or a step back. You know what I mean? And I think, to be honest with you, when push comes to shove, Mike McCarthy needs to go after this year. If they don't make it past the wild card this year, or the divisional round even, he needs to go. He's the problem for that team. He's the person who's holding that team back. I think partially Dak Prescott is also, but I still got somewhat hope in him. And then the next one, Rams, Bears. Oh, wait, no, I already did that. Chargers, Chiefs, sorry. Chargers, Chiefs. 17-10. You would expect them to beat them by a blowout, but Rashee Rice's injury is a very big topic right now when it comes to Chiefs fans and when it comes to this podcast today. I'll be talking about that later. But Mahomes did not have the best game. 245 yards, 1 touchdown, a pick. I noticed Patrick Mahomes has just become very reckless when it comes to throwing the ball. I feel like he's taking too many risks. On the stat sheet, it's not looking good. And these self-inflicted wounds, sooner or later, when they play a good enough team, it's going to come back to haunt them. Especially not only on as Mahomes, but the offensive line as a whole also, for the amount of flags they cause, for the amount of time that Mahomes has in the pocket. I know Kingsley Suamataia last week, or the week before, it was a big issue because he was just letting guys come through like he was a doorman. I mean, Mahomes was running for his life, and then he got benched because of it. Kingsley Suamataia did. Kareem Hunt had a promising game, 14 attempts, 69 yards, looking like peak Kareem Hunt form. Not really. I mean, he was so much better when he was with us in his few years, but it's nice to have a guy like that on the team, especially since he's a receiving threat also. Travis Kelce, 7 receptions, 89 yards. Xavier Worthy, 3 receptions, 73 yards. Both of those guys came up clutch when they needed to, and that's amazing. Especially since Kelce's had a rough couple weeks of playing. Chargers, Justin Herbert, 179 yards, 1 touchdown. J.K. Dobbins only having 14 attempts, 32 yards rushing. And Ladd McConkey, 5 receptions, 67 yards, and a touchdown. This Chargers team is exciting, but I think the fact is that they're in a rebuild mode right now. Ladd McConkey is their best receiver in a rookie season, but I think Ladd McConkey has some big potential. Do I think he'll be a great primary guy? No. I don't think he'll be a wide receiver 1, but wide receiver 2, like a Devontae Smith caliber player, I think if the Chargers use him right, he could really, really break out on that team being a second wide receiver. They just need a superstar or a dominant wide receiver at 1. And then as for the games tonight, Dolphins-Titans, I got the Dolphins winning that. Tyler Snoop Huntley has too good of a team around him to lose this game, and I really don't think Will Levis and the Titans have the capability to beat the Dolphins because just Will Levis has played like crap. Lions Seahawks, I got the Seahawks winning this. I think that the Lions aren't going to bounce back off the loss they had against Seattle last year. And I think Geno Smith is going to keep his hot streak going and beat the Lions and push them down to 2-2. But we'll see tonight. I'd keep an eye on Amon-Ra St. Brown fantasy owners. He's a great wide receiver, but he's playing one of the best secondaries in the league right now. And keep an eye on David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. They have a pretty decent defensive line. Seahawks do. So I'd keep an eye on them also. But one of those two players is set to go crazy, especially since I believe Sam Laporta is not playing this game. I don't think he is. Oh, no, he is, actually. He is playing this game. But I don't think he's going to get as much passes as he usually would. So, yep. And, yeah, that should do it for Week 4 games. Week 5 stuff, I'll be I'll have an episode on Wednesday going over my takes with that. But something big. Derrick Rose retirement. I thought that was big. He was a hero growing up for me. When I first moved here, watched basketball, my dad was put me on to Derrick Rose, and that's what brought me the love for basketball. That's what I like, playing it. I like watching it. Not so much watching it now because of the super team stuff that's happening, but just Derrick Rose was that guy. And it kind of caught me off guard. I mean, I kind of saw it coming because I knew it was going to happen sooner or later. I mean, he's been in the league for 16 years, but a guy that you've basically looked up to for a lot of your life, a guy like him, a good role model, you kind of think the guy's invincible, right? Because not only did he still play through the injuries, after his torn ACL, even after, his career went downhill, unfortunately, his past life as a child was also very hectic. And I love the fact that now that I hear about it is he has become a public motivational speaker now for little kids to inspire them in a way where let them know that you can be the link that breaks the chain kind of thing, that can make it out of your hard lives and help your family and stuff like that. I think that's amazing, and kudos to him, and that gives him a lot of respect for me. He already had it to begin with, but that's amazing. Amazing that he's in the next phase of his life, now trying to spread the word about his past experiences and his past hardships. And I think that's great. And I forgot to mention earlier, Dikembe Mutombo dies of brain cancer. Crazy. I didn't see that coming either. I didn't even know he was sick, to be honest with you. R.I.P. Dikembe Mutombo. Finger wag will always be iconic for anybody that gets a block. It's like yelling Kobe while playing trash-get-ball or stuff like that. You know what I mean? So, amazing player. Amazing personality, too. I mean, the NBA lost a legend. And then, the conversation that we've all been kind of dying to hear. So, as you guys probably know, Rashee Rice did end up in a very big catastrophe yesterday against the Chargers, where Mahomes throws an interception, and Mahomes kind of dives to the point where he can tackle the guy that's returning the ball, but doesn't see Rashee Rice there. And the Chiefs fear that he's got a torn ACL. Now, considering the predicament the Chiefs are now in, this means Hollywood Brown is out for the year. Rashee Rice could probably be out for the year if he does have that torn ACL. And that means you have Xavier Worthy and a bunch of third, fourth, fifth stringers as your second receiver. And to be honest, they don't get a lot of playtime for a reason. So the Chiefs are in a predicament. I mean, they really are in a predicament right now. For all the people that say it's all Mahomes' fault, blah, 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 I think that's BS. Because he was just simply trying to make the tackle, didn't see Rashee Rice there. That is not his fault. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Mahomes fan. I'm saying that because that's just football. And for all the people that say, it was all Mahomes' fault, first of all, you're not real fans. And B, it's part of football. Injuries happen. He didn't see it. It was the heat of the moment. You know what I mean? So, at the end of the day, it wasn't his fault, to be honest with you. Now, what does this mean for the wide receiving room? They have a rookie Xavier Worthy, and that means he's still kind of finding his place in the league. As for that, I don't know how that's going to work, but I know Kelsey's probably going to get utilized a lot more on the offense since Rice is gone now. But on the bright side, let's think positive, guys. You know how Thanos sold Gamora's soul for the Soul Stone? Just think about it this way. Patrick Mahomes sold Rashee Rice's soul for the Soul Stone to add the last Infinity Stone to his gauntlet so then they can get the three-peat. Because to be honest with you, think about it, right? The strongest decisions must have the strongest wills or the strongest powers. I don't remember what the quote was from Thanos, but you gotta do what you gotta do, man. As long as you three-peat, that's all that matters. And plus, it kind of sucks. Yeah, Rashee Rice is gone, and considering he might be suspended for a lot of the time next year, and on top of that, he could see some serious prison time and some serious jail time. We could be losing out on that. So, with this being said, what I think needs to happen is one of these two receivers I'm about to put out there needs to get traded for at the trade deadline by Brett Veach. Brett Veach, make your thing happen. You're a magician. First things first, Amari Cooper. I know, okay, he's been kind of a wash wide receiver. He's got some injury history, but when he's not injured, he's putting 1,100 yards, 1,200 yards up every year. And then on top of that, he's a good possession receiver, even though he's got a couple drops. He's a great possession receiver, great deep threat. And he looks like he's pissed off every time he plays on that Browns field. I saw there was a lot of rising tempers between Watson and Cooper that game against Las Vegas. So I think definitely he wants out. And I think Amari Cooper would be the perfect, perfect player to be on the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he would be the perfect addition to the wide receiving room. Brings a vet for the young guys and brings a possession receiver that we've been lacking in. The second guy I was thinking, DeAndre Hopkins from Tennessee. I know he's a bit washed, okay? I get it. The dude's washed. He's old. But DeAndre Hopkins still has it in him. He's got, at least I think he would be a good guy for Patrick Mahomes. So with that being said, I think Patrick Mahomes would thrive with that with DeAndre Hopkins also. But I think he would thrive more with Amari Cooper. So Brett Veach, man, everybody tag Brett Veach. Brett Veach, do something. Grab Amari Cooper. That guy would be perfect for that Chiefs offense with Patrick Mahomes. And he just needs one big break. And I think he could really, really have a great season in Kansas City. And it'll be nice for him to take Rashee's spot if he does, which he probably will get suspended and his jail time, since his future is unclear right now of what's going to happen. So, yeah, and that's my takes for today, guys. I know pretty short episode. There wasn't really much to talk about today, but Week 5 episode will be coming up on Wednesday with all my takes for that. And hit me up on Instagram at Final Seconds Pod or Aryagupta_2007. DM me your takes. I'll definitely be willing to put your takes out on my podcast. Give you my thoughts with your guys' controversies, your guys' takes and opinions. And on top of that, follow the Snapchat at Final Seconds Pod. Just made it. I plan on but posting a lot of highlights, a bunch of, stat stuff, big news, stuff like that. It's kind of what I'm doing on Instagram. And yeah, make sure you just follow all platforms, the YouTube, the Spotify, all of that stuff. And yeah, I think that's it. About one hell of an episode. And make sure you hit the follows on all those and subscribe on YouTube. And, yeah. Tune in next time, guys. I promise Wednesday will be the next upload day. And, yeah, I'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace out.